Let's start with some context. The national grid, Nigeria's primary source of electricity supply, has a generation capacity of about 13,000 megawatts, but rarely delivers above 4,000 megawatts. For comparison, South Africa, with a smaller population, delivers over 40,000 megawatts. This low delivery is due to technical issues, old infrastructure, and challenges in power distribution. Reports indicate that most of our infrastructure was built in the 1970s, which means we're relying on outdated technology that can't handle the demand. This year alone, the national grid collapsed 10 times, and according to a report from Foundation for Investigative Journalism, the federal government allocated over 30 billion naira for the renovation of presidential residences, lodges, and offices from 2021 to 2024, as revealed in budget documents on the Nigerian Budget Office website. And since 2021, recurrent allocations have been made for the renovation of the presidential lodge in Dodam Barracks, the Shehu Shagari building, and the office wings for presidential aides. In 2023 and 2024, presidential vice presidential quarters at Aso Villa received over 7 billion naira in total budgetary allocation. This morning, November 9, 2024, a report in a Punch newspaper says the federal government has again allocated 5 billion naira towards the renovation of the vice president's official residence in Lagos State. To help us understand what's causing these breakdowns and what can be done, the way forward, we are now being joined by Dr. Idowu Oyebanjo, an energy consultant with years of experience in power systems. To join the conversation, you can call us on 0700 1051 1051. WhatsApp us at 0909 916 4403, or reach out on our social media accounts at City 1051 on Zoom, Instagram, and Facebook. Welcome, Dr. Idowu Oyebanjo, and thank you for joining us today. Well, you had to come late. As a NEPA man, as an energy system man, you had to delay the program for about 7 minutes. After all, they say never expect power always.
At all.
Well, they say always. So you have to come late.
Apologies.
Let's start by asking you to explain to us what the national grid is and how it functions at a basic level. Because we keep hearing national grid has collapsed, and we suffer for it. What is this mythical national grid that is almost, comatose, non-existent, playing possum?
Apologies again to our viewers also and listeners worldwide and all over Nigeria, especially. A grid. Think about a grid as a wire. The people who roast suya meat, they have a kind of grid they place on their fire pot to be able to process that meat. So that's like a grid. So there are 3 components, basic components of a grid in a nation. So begin to see why it is a national grid now. It's a grid, it's a wire, it's like an iron that is linking the person producing electricity, known as generator, to the person that is using the electricity, known as consumer. You and I are the consumers on the right-hand side of the line. On the left-hand side of the line is the person producing the electricity for us. to carry his electricity from Kainji, Shiroro, Njeba, or from Ijede, in the case of the power plant there must be a connection between your house, for example, and that producer of electricity. That connection is called the grid. That wire in between the generator and you, the consumer. Now, the consumer is not only us as individuals in our homes. The consumer will be offices, it will be industries, it will be companies. Anybody that is using the electricity is the consumer. The generator too that I have described in a simple form, just as you requested, it can be the plant that is in Ugeli. It can be the plant that is at Shiroro. It can be the plant anywhere in the country, in that nation. They are scattered around that nation. But all of them, we can just represent them like a box called generation. And all the consumers, be it the industrial consumers, the homes, which I will call residential consumers, the companies, the large companies, industrial consumers, the universities, the commercial consumers, all of those people will represent them by another box called consumers. Everything that you do to bring that electricity from wherever it is being produced to those people is what we call the grid in that nation. It is the national grid, and it has three components majorly. There will be substations, there will be transmission lines, and there will be distribution lines.
Okay, this national grid that you have talked about, you have helped us to understand how it works. It has collapsed over 200 times since 2010. Is that international standard practice that the national grid will always collapse? And what are the primary issues causing these failures? Now, I see a lot of blame trading. They will say it's from generation. Some people will say it's from transmission. Transmission people will say it's because the discos are not of taking power that is provided. A lot of people trading blames, and yet we the people from band A to band E to band whatever,
zero,
they are the ones who get blamed, and yet we are the innocent people.
Right, thank you for that. Your first question there being, is it an international practice? No. Absolutely a disgraceful situation in any nation where there is a national grid collapse. So, for this discussion, I will be blunt and honest. I will also be speaking as a professional. I will be speaking as somebody who was fortunately trained from Federal Polytechnic Ilaro in Ogun State, Nigeria, and University of Lagos for my first degree, but was principally trained in the United Kingdom for the rest of the 20-something years. So I'll be speaking as a professional, to which there will be no query. Anyone that goes against the things I will say here, technically, does not understand power system. It's as simple as that. I have come from a background of well-trained power system engineers. So I was not trained in Nigeria.
This is like the wizard saying, if nobody will praise me, I will praise myself.
It's a kind of background to what I will say.
I'm just pulling you.
It's even good to pull the legs. You know why? If somebody knows something, there is little or no way you will explain it other than what I've said, okay? So I am an authority in this subject matter, and it takes quite a significantly knowledgeable person to challenge whatever I will say here, okay? Having said that, I give credit to the people who trained me, the British system that trained me properly. And that's why, as part of this discussion, I will be focusing on training, why Nigerians need to be trained about power system, because there is a direct lack of that, disgraceful lack of knowledge of power systems in Nigeria. So we'll come back to your question. In the first class of our power system training, you are informed that if there is national grid collapse, heads must roll. National grid collapse is a disgrace. It happens like in 40 or 50 years time. So before you see another grid collapse in a nation like United Kingdom, in Britain or in America, you must have decades. So this is how it is. People will resign voluntarily. if there is a grid collapse in Britain, I am very sure of that. The head of even the disco, the equivalent, will resign. The head of the transmission will just resign. This is the natural way we expect of any working system. If there is 2 different collapses within like 2 years, if there are 2 collapses within 2 years in the UK, all people will resign. Okay, 2. Now, so it is a disgraceful thing in power system to have grid collapse. It is a political, and I don't want to talk about politics. The government of any country, like UK or US, if they have grid collapse, and this will be a serious matter. So let me stop there. The blame game, you are right. Let's look at the concept of blame game. You know, the easiest way worldwide to trade blame game is when your audience don't understand the subject matter. It's just easy. That makes it so easy. Because if you say it is A, the guy doesn't know. The person that you are fooling does not know. And power system is highly complex. So over the years in Nigeria, people just tell that I am the one. This person is the one, not the cause. This one is the cause. So because of that, you are confused. So you see, if the fault is from a generating system, the transmission company will say is not me, or is the like you said, they say, oh, is the disco who have not taken the load. So you become very confused. And this is not only peculiar to Nigeria, fortunately. It is, well, whether fortunately or unfortunately, it also happens in the UK, where you will just smile at some of us who are power system professionals. We just smile when the media writes something, and consumers, they don't care. What the consumer wants anywhere in the world is electricity. They don't know the rudiments and the fundamentals, and they don't need it really. But they need dependable professionals in that field to make sure they provide that electricity services which they will pay for. So it is not international practice. It is blame game in Nigeria because they know that nobody understands them, and then they know that those who are leading will not understand them, and then there's no meritocracy in Nigeria. So it goes on and on. The blame game goes nowhere.
Okay.
Sorry, and then they put it on the customer. The final, that makes it now difficult.
The next question is about the cost to the customers. How does that translate into any positive or negative value for economic growth, which is another thing that we are all concerned about? I mean, people can't even charge their phones anymore because there's no electricity. This is November. I'm sure before December ends, the national grid will collapse again. So tell us about the cost.
The costs of
this epilepsy
is humongous. I can't describe it. How will you describe the loss of a life just because they were using candle, to carry out the operation in the hospital? And that's not once, severally. How do you describe the impact of a human who cannot reach the family just because all the phones, the chargers, the battery banks, the power banks, everything dead, and they cannot even talk to anybody? How do you quantify the loss of finance to companies that are supposed to produce commodities for sale, SMEs? Look, it is unfathomable. It is huge cost. I don't know. If it's uncountable, then I'll say it's uncountable.
Okay, Dr. Ibanjo, the latest incident that we have had to this week, I think once or twice this week, the Ministry of Power says, they are trying to do repair works. That's why it collapsed. And that they have a plan that all of these matters will be resolved in the immediate, in 1 month, in 2 months, in 6 months. Do you have any confidence that this is something that they can deal with within 1 month, 6 months, or 1 year? Or there are far more fundamental problems making it possible for the transmission company of Nigeria to function? Should we even have a national grid? Should that national grid be decentralized? But that's another question. That's about solutions. But if you like, you can take the two together.
All right, so when you have a grid collapse in the Western world, earth must roll. Okay? Earth must roll. Now, bringing it down to Nigeria, I won't say earth should roll, but something similar should happen. Something's very serious, and that's one event. Now, one of the fundamental things you will do when there is grid collapse is a transparent investigation as to what happened. That has never taken place in Nigeria before.
No, but they told us that they are doing repairs.
Hear me out again. When there is a grid collapse, it is a mandatory power system procedure to carry out an investigation of exactly what happened. That has not taken place in Nigeria in the last 4 decades. That is a wrong thing. You will never get electricity in any nation where there is a grid collapse and there is no transparent investigation. Now, you can argue, with the multiple number of collapses, but it is still a fundamental requirement. So they don't do that, number one. If they do it in TCN, which they do at the back, they don't publish it. Guess what that means? The thing is covered up. Right. It is from that analysis that we will know exactly what the problem is. Now, fortunately, as a power system engineer, I have seen those results many times. And that's how I come to know that we are in for a lot of grid collapses between now and April next year. Very significant number.
Like how many?
So now it has turned to every
month,
every Eke market days. So there are 4 market days in Igbo land. We have the Eke are for Ori and Nkwo for the Igbo market days. 4 of them. But the analysis, because we've had up to 11 events in 11 months, so that is 1 per month. So Nigerians have christened it in so many ways, and one of the people have said is every market day that there must be one. And if you look at what has happened, October 14, 15, 16, we had one, October 19, and then in November now we've started, and then we have one Monday, and then why they are doing that on Wednesday, I can bet it with you that you will have significant number of grid collapses between now and the next few months. Now, the reasons, we will come to that one later. So, now, when we say that there's a grid collapse, the regulator will also sanction the offender. But in Nigeria, it has not happened. What has happened after we have cried in the last 3 weeks is a public hearing. That's also a wrong step. The regulator then invited people to come and do public hearing. No. A regulator will bite and will sanction the offender out of that report. So that's another correction. I was very glad that it was one of my discussions where I raised that there should be a form of investigation. But they didn't come to ask. They went to do public hearing. That is an anomaly in power system. You don't do it. You sanction the hearing person. And so they've not done it. And that this will continue. Now, the people who did the report say that it's equipment. It's a lie. I can tell you categorically without reading the report that it is a pure it is disingenuous actually. Now let me tell you why it is disingenuous. So if it is equipment, the grid collapse that we had, if it's equipment that is old, aged equipment that caused it, and they will now repair them, I can bet you at least it will take like 20 years to repair this equipment, okay? All of them. So it means we will have this event for another 20 years, I know. So please, the concept of telling somebody at all that it is aged equipment that caused it is one of the lack of meritocracy, because the person you are telling will not know. If the person you are telling does not know that equipment fail is not poor equipment that can cause grid collapse, the person will say, oh yeah, let's go and attack repair of equipment. You will take 10 years to repair equipment. It won't happen in 1 month, sadly, like you have said.
Well, doctor.
Yes, please.
Now, should we say, is it safe for us to say that the federal government of Nigeria, that the time has come to declare a state of emergency in the energy sector? Because how do we function without electricity? Brazil, that is of comparable population rate, has more supply of electricity than us, South Africa, that is about, if you like, say a quarter or a third of Nigeria's population, has even better electricity, even with all the problems with ESCOM. Our people here are in darkness. From band A to band E to band 0. Everybody is just struggling. What is this?
I love that.
And what should a state of emergency translate into as we try to now talk about solutions?
Absolutely correct to declare a state of emergency. And it's a real state of emergency. You know, you can declare a state of emergency on anything and it is not any emergency. I'm sure in Nigeria there must have been declarations that look like state of emergency in various sectors in the past, but I don't know. But a real state of emergency is needed in the power sector. A real state of emergency. As you said, we cannot function properly as a country without electricity. Name one country in the whole world that you have seen them having trains moving, trains, railway, or they have good communication system that they don't have on uninterrupted power supply. Just name one country that you think is developed that doesn't have electricity, because there is a direct relationship. It's called, you know, we have inverse relationship and direct. There is a direct relationship between the amount of electricity flowing in a country and the economic prosperity of that country. And this is simple because if you have electricity in your country, the woman that is making ice block will sell and be productive. The man that is doing nylon will produce something. The industries manufacturing drugs, they will produce and they will sell and export. So in my power system class 101 during my master's class in UK, the first line of one of the courses is the first thing a government does is build a power system. And that stuck with me for years in my practice. For the mere fact that that lecturer walked into the classroom and he said, in the very first line of his expression in that course, he said, the very first thing a government builds is a power system. That stuck with me. That's why they are developed. Absolutely correct. If anybody says this is a plain paper today, no country, new country to be formed, new country, virgin land, if that country will be the America of the future, they must build power system.
Look, Dr. Ibanjo, we are in the third world.
Yes.
We have seen the effect of never expect power always. Now, we are in this situation.
Yeah.
Some solutions have been proposed. Rethinking the energy mix, rural electrification, renewable energy. Why is it that nothing is working?
Okay. I'm surprised that you said that we have seen the effect of lack of electricity. But I'm not also surprised, being a Nigerian to the core. If I want to answer you professionally, we have not seen the effects of
it will be worse than this.
I'm saying that if you see effect of anything, there will be action. If you see the effect, if you know the impact, there will be action. So what I mean is that if it is true that Nigeria has seen the impact of this grid collapse and lack of constant electricity, then electricity will become available. They will do everything possible to make it available, which we will go into in the solutions. Get this point. This question is very correct, because the only way Nigeria will ever have electricity in about 300 years or 400 years uninterrupted electricity is whenever they realize the effect, whenever the country realizes the effect that it has on their development, on how it has kept them where they are. It is only after that realization, I have not seen it, that they will do the electricity. It's very simple. Electricity is very simple. You know why it is simple? Something that was done in 1890s, 128 years ago. It is impossible for a nation of like Nigeria, with most brilliant people, black people in the world, not to have achieved it. So the very day that the country recognizes the impact of electricity, that in America, in UK, they have trains that come to time. So you say 7 o'clock. If you say your train is 7 o'clock, If you are not there by 7, or if the train does not come by 7, the sanctions is too much that the train will come by 7. Because of that precision type of life, whereby the system cannot be sustained except you have electricity, then you have realized the impact. Then you will produce the electricity. Then whoever is in charge must be the right person. Then the person will be the square peg in the square hole. Not somebody who will not understand the report that's been given. Not somebody who is not qualified by any means to head the agency or head the parastatal or whatever. You will never do it. The very day you do that, I can assure you that the knowledgeable people in power systems worldwide will be attracted to your country. But once they see your setup, they see the people in charge of power systems, they will stay back because they know it won't work. So they will not bring in their money. It's impossible. No, and I put this in quotes, no qualified investor will ever look at Nigerian power sector and bring the money in. Only those ones that want to extort the system through estimated billing can do so. This is a fact. Because it's not productive, it's not functioning, it's always breaking down. So no good investor will bring their money into such this.
Oh, Nigeria, we hate you. Okay. Well, maybe Dr. Yebanjo, I'll let you take a pause. But I asked you a question about rural electrification. I also asked you a question about renewable energy. Yeah. About the whole import of the Electricity Act of, I think, 2023 is that the states can play a role so that it's not national grid. Yeah. You can have the states, and we've had a number of states, Abia, Enugu, Ekiti State, Lagos State, talking about,
Imo
State.
Not Lagos.
Okay. No, Lagos talked about, state electricity disco as far back as 1999, when Tinubu was governor of Lagos State. They started with it. In Lekki, there is an off-grid project, that is located on the sea and all that. No, Lagos is part of it. So why is it that we're not seeing the difference in spite of this intervention by the state governments?
Okay, so when you introduce the concept of the renewable energy, the decentralization of the grid, you said it's part of the solutions which we will come to. So I didn't want to talk about off-grid, all those things. Yes. And then if we have moved into that now, it's correct. We have moved into the solutions.
Yeah.
So if you remember when I started about the suya meat, I said the wire mesh material.
It's afternoon already. Don't make me hungry. I don't want to leave the studio and be looking for suya.
Okay. That would be very nice. If the suya man has fire, is in place of his electricity anyway. Joking about that. So that grid that you talk about should be decentralized. It's one of the fastest way. In fact, it is the fastest way to help Nigeria out of this darkness. It is the fastest way. Write it down. The fastest way. That's how it is in my article, which I wrote sometimes. I said the fastest way for Nigeria to come out of the conundrum of its electricity crisis is the decentralization of the grid. That was in 2014 that I wrote that article. Guess what? The people at the Helm of Affairs at that time did not believe me. So it took us 7 years of professional fight back of the system to push through this Electricity Act that now came in 2023. Now that's shameful. But because advocacy is something that you are passionate about, that you don't give up on, that's why we stayed. Otherwise, as an authority, I was telling the people in charge on that fateful day at the National Assembly that, look, this is the way to go. And I also went at my own cost from the UK to the regulator at that time. And I spoke with the chairman at that, and I said, this is the way. And they said it will not happen. And I said straight back to them that it will happen. Why? It will happen because that's power system. It is a subject of our love, and it's a subject that we are ready to defend, and it's a subject we understand. Now, 7 years. Now, those 7 years, for us, it's painful. It's painful 7 years, but, well, in the whole scheme of things of power system, that's what we had to pay for. But now we are there. But guess what? Since Thursday, June 9, 2023, that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has signed the Electricity Act. Look at how the governors are dilly-dallying about it. That's why I know that we have not realized the impact of grid failure. We have not. Because if we are, we will not even be talking of the president or the minister of power. Each person will be asking his local government chairman and his governor why they have not done anything on that electricity act. Something that gave them on a platter of gold opportunity to use their solar, renewable, off-grid, wind, biomass, dirty. Biomass is just to pack all the dirty on the road, plenty dirty, and turn it to electricity. People are giving that thing since 1 year plus now. Something needs to be checked by any person who was given opportunity of electricity act and has not done anything about it. Something is wrong. The person has not realized the meaning of development, and the person will not have development.
Well, on that note, Dr. Yebanjo, let us take this short commercial break, and when we return, the conversation will continue. We'll be right back. Just a very short commercial break.
Most of the contracts in NDDC are given out to members of National Assembly, but you don't know about it. It's okay.
When you need unbiased information, balanced analysis, reviews, and insights on the policies and programs that concern you, listen to City Talks with Ruben Abati. Be a part of it. Call 0700 1051 1051 to lend your voice on topics and help shape our country for the better.
My name is Ruben Abati. I will be your host on City Talks from noon to 1 p.m. every Saturday. Join me as we dissect major issues of public interest. You will be glad you did.
City Talks with Ruben Abati on your #1 lifestyle station, City 1051. From noon to 1 p.m. every Saturday.
Welcome back from that commercial break. And for those of you just tuning in, we've been discussing the frequent collapse of Nigeria's national power grid causes impact solutions with our guest, Dr. Idowu Oyebanjo, who is a renowned power system engineer. Remember, you can join this conversation by calling us on 0700 1051 1051. You can also send us messages on WhatsApp at 0909 916 4403. And you can also engage with us on our social media accounts at City1051 on Zoom, Instagram, and Facebook. Obviously, this is a subject that affects all of us, whether you are on band A to band 0 in terms of electricity supply. It's so bad that people can't even charge their phones, businesses cannot function, even barbering salons cannot provide services in a country of over 200 million people that is, for the better part, in darkness. We'll take the first caller. Hello.
Good afternoon, Dr. Abati.
Good afternoon. Your name, your location, and please keep it brief.
I'm in Nafil from Yaba. I'm also an electrical engineer. Man has talked sensibly with the about the social matter, and it's appalling when we continue to have national grid. The one thing is, we are talking about leadership, also talking about decentralization. In India, as big as India is, bigger than Nigeria, we still have a centralized national grid. But the way they operate it is that let me tell you that most of the PLC we are using in Nigeria are coming from there. And all of them in their factories there. They have their generating sets there. Windmill, solar. They have it there and they are using it. Maybe that is the digitalization that doctor is talking about. It is also good if you can go that way. But the problem, like he said, is this administration. We engineers are well trained in administration. You can't say because somebody read administration or business, how to manage a technically biased establishment like electricity. It's not done. We are taught in psychology, sociology, law of industrialization, business law, industrial law. We engineers are well taught on that area. Why can't they take an engineer to manage such systems that we understand the report of various sectors and make a good out of it? It's not done. Put square peg in square hole and you get results. And
Okay.
you continue to do it otherwise, that is what will be what we are experiencing is the result we'll be getting. Because a typical tailor told me that when I told her I manage transformer and all that I have in my area, so that they have already collapsed the national grid, their life also will be collapsed. That is the statement from everybody now. They should do things right thing at the right time. To have a nation that is what is right.
Okay, sir.
Nigeria, thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. Well, I'm sure that Dr. Yebanjo had everything that you said. But very quickly, we have Adegboyega Adedeji, who has sent us a message. Adegboyega Adedeji says, the recent grid collapses in Nigeria are indeed worrisome and unacceptable. That incompetence and lack of accountability seem to be tolerated in a key sector like NNPC and the Ministry of Power. The frequency of these collapses raises concerns about the country's energy crisis and the impact on businesses and daily life. Electricity experts will come on air, give details why the grid collapse, provide solutions, but in real terms, such solutions will not be implemented. Governments come and go, same excuses are given. How can we be experiencing constant grid collapse without the federal government firing key persons in the Ministry of Power? There must be scapegoats and there must be consequences in order to checkmate this. Power grid in Nigeria is purely as a result of national grid. Take it or you leave it. Adegboyega Adedeji. Well, he's making a point that Dr. Yebanjo himself made, that if this were to be the case in other parts of the world, heads will roll. Heads will by now be rolling and blood will have splattered the floor. But I see that there's another caller on the line. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, Dr. Abati.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I'm calling today. This is Dr. Moses.
Dr. Moses, thank you for the other day.
Especially ID Factorial. ID Factorial. I know he knows this name. But I was thinking, let me not say more than that. Anyway, I am not surprised that you've spoken so authoritatively. Anyway, you were my teacher back then in the secondary school days. I became my staff afterwards. It is monumentally embarrassing that Nigeria has become this. I think I had an event yesterday that by now I should be resting, but because there is no power anywhere, they run out of gen, run out of everything. I have to leave home to go and look for a place where they have solar. That is a metaphor of what happened in Nigeria. But let me pick them. What happened to the most vaunted fairness that even he had to lose his life when he went to Germany? What happened? That, by the way, the Ministry of Power, if you don't care of things, it's either the ministry is reading with incompetent people, or this is just pure act of sabotage. Somebody is trying to just destroy Nigeria, and they can't be apprehended by government that should have the apparatus, or there is complicity on the part of government that they work with those that do that. How can they keep polarizing? Am I talking of GRID here or GREED? I don't even understand the bill we are talking about. And you know, from what ID Factory has taught me years back, decades back, that energy is the capacity to do work. Without energy, everything is comatose. That is why our economy will never grow. You talk of countries like South Korea, like in these Asian tigers, why are they so respected today? They can generate their power and they can do things. Without energy, it's not a mistake that the first thing even God or Jehovah in the Bible, let there be light, let there be energy. Without energy, nothing works. The country is on its way because, as I said, it's not those in terms of whether it is generation or distribution, they are totally incompetent and they've not been inspired, or there is complicity on their part, or somebody is sabotaging efforts because it's disgraceful. When will Nigeria get there with power? We are moving nowhere unless we have this peace and peace for once and for all. Imagine the proposal from June 2014 being implemented 7 years later. And I will always remember the state government. They will easily hound their opponents out of existence when they have to do that politically. But they cannot, the power has been generated, signed into law, generate power for state. If a state can't do it, why can't it be about regions? After we have political regions, after come together and generate light. We can't keep saying this forever. I don't understand this. I don't get it. I get it, guys.
Okay, thank you. Well, Dr. Ibanjo, we have had 3 persons calling in. Would you like to respond to them, including Adibuiga Adedeji, who sent a message via WhatsApp? But I also see Ayomide from Lagos here on the screen before me. He or she says, well, Ayomide is a neutral name, that please ask the doctor, why is the national grid always collapsing? What is the root cause? What will it take for Nigeria to have 24/7 power supply? I think you've already addressed aspects of that question. But quickly, let's respond to some of the issues that have been raised.
Thank you very much. Naturally, thank you very much. Naturally, you expect me to thank my mentee, somebody I taught obviously in the 90s, physics, further maths, calculus, factorial, which he called me repeatedly. Dr. Moses, thank you very much. I'm so grateful. Some of this brings tears to your eyes when you see your mentees getting it right. And that's what he has done. Everything Dr. Moses said is the way Nigeria should go. The one that he mentioned that has not been said by anybody, and I was thinking I would be the first person to mention it. Now my mentee has mentioned it. Well-trained guy. Sabotage. Nobody has thought about it. I was hoping to be the first person. This must be a sabotage. This must be a sabotage. This must be a sabotage. I was hoping I would be the first Nigerian to spot it, but I'm not the first one. One of my mentees has spotted it. A lot of people will have spotted it. And I know exactly why it must be. I will talk about that separately later, maybe in another discussion. So thank you. Everything he said, Dr. Moses, is fine. It's correct. They are correct. The one from Adegboyega Adedeji, by the way, the expressions are the same expressions you have used, Dr. Abati, and myself, and we've said it's worrisome, it's unacceptable, it's incompetence, why should it be happening? But he said non-implementation of several committee reports, several recommendations since way back. It's not now. He said that no scapegoat and so on. So we talk about that. What of Matthew from Yaba? He used the same expression. It's appalling. Because you see, all these people getting it right, getting the words right, they don't know the subject. And because the incompetence is so massive, there is no way out. If you don't put meritocracy as the first point of power system, I promise you, you will never get electricity right. I can put my degree, PhD. To get a PhD in the United Kingdom is a serious matter. It's not joke.
To get it in Nigeria too is a serious matter.
Yeah, but I can't speak. I can't speak.
It's a test of endurance.
Yeah. So, but if you have a PhD in power systems or any other subject for that matter in the UK, you are an authority. Okay, and your authority comes not now. It must have been you several decades back, as you can see. One of my mentees said. So the people who get to the level of meritocracy that I have gotten, that I spoke earlier, that I'm an authority, and when I say something, it will take a really brilliant mind in the world to challenge me on anything I say on power systems. Very, very brilliant.
I like your confidence.
Oh, it's because of who I am. So now, those people don't get to manage the electricity system in Nigeria, okay? They will never get there. They will never get there. The incompetence, the corruption, the quota system misnomer, the lack of meritocracy is the first thing. If you don't deal with that, you will never get electricity in Nigeria. I promise that freely.
Okay, well, we have someone on the line again. The name is Sabaranje Ikotun. I think that's
Abaranje is where she's from.
Abiola from Abaranje Ikotun.
Abaranje.
Yes, okay. The person says, good afternoon, sirs. All that I've heard from the energy expert with a vast wealth of knowledge, both home and abroad today, marveled me tremendously. So we have a Nigerian like this, and Mr. President is putting a banker who I know knows next to nothing about the sector, as is very obvious in the sector performance over the years. How I wish Mr. President can do away with politics in putting the right peg in the right hole by putting someone like your guest at the helm of affairs of the energy sector in Nigeria. Abiola from Ikotun. And then I have Engineer Labode showing me here. He says, my question for Dr. Uyebanjo, what's the update on the Siemens intervention project by the government of Germany? And then I have Jessica. Jessica is saying, just a moment, I'm trying to read. Despite the outrageous cost of electricity in recent times, should we still undergo issues of national grid collapse? It is easy to identify the problems, but how about implementation? Zero. Doctor, could you please help us respond to some of these other interventions?
Thank you. Ayomide is the first person. Lovely comment from Ayomide from Lagos. Ayomide said, look, why should we be? She's frustrated. He or she, as you said, is gender sensitive and grid collapse. Why should we be having it? What will be the solution? And I hope we get to the point where I will tell you the solution of having 24/7 electricity in any country. So not necessarily Nigeria. As far as I'm concerned, as a professional, I can talk on power system in any country that wishes to have electricity. I will just state what they need to do. Okay? So that I hope Ayomide will listen when we come to that. Abiola from Abarode said, look, these things we have talked about, politicking, incompetency, is still the bane of the problem. And it is. And Jessica, of course, said, despite the cost we are paying, even this band A cost, for example, the Chartered Institute of Power Engineers, the body that's meant to regulate power systems in profession in Nigeria, they came up against the band A principle. The band is something because it is a misnomer in power system. The concept of banding is a misnomer. We understand what they are trying to do. They're trying to increase liquidity, but they have done it not the way a power engineer would do the process. They've done it in maybe looking at electricity as looking at that service as naira and kobo. It's not. You might end up getting more money. But once you have customers that are unhappy, the power system is already a failed power system.
We are unhappy. I can tell you categorically.
The definition of a power system is this. A power system is built to satisfy consumers. So let me tell you what happens in the UK. How we make electricity available 24/7 and why. The reason is, when I wake up, before I go to the office, I am thinking about the customers. When I sit on my desk, I am thinking about the customers. When my MD walks in and parks his car in that car park, he's thinking about customers. We are thinking about, so 24/7. So in my role as a protection engineer, okay, power system protection engineer, which is the hardest part of power systems, okay, only few people in the world can sit in protection, okay, and that's what is causing Nigerian power grid. Protection is causing it, and it's because it's only few of us that can stand protection systems in the whole world. I'm not talking of Nigeria. In the whole world, there are only few people who can go into power system protection. So that's why I chose to stay, because I'm a Nigerian. I knew that's where I need to be. So I struggled to stay there, and I stayed there. In my role, my job is to make sure that grid does not collapse. That customer does not call to say, look, I have a power cut. If the person calls to say he has a power cut, the penalty we will pay as a company is too much. It's too much that your MD will sack your manager first of all. Your manager will then sack you too. So guess what? When I'm going to work in the morning, I'm looking at my own patch of the network in the UK and I'm saying nothing must happen. So I'm thinking ahead. I'm applying all the differential calculus. The factorial he called me. I'm thinking about them. I'm applying the calculus and the differential systems. I'm applying the things I learned in school. I'm making sure that no customer in my patch, which I'm looking after, and my patch is no small patch, it's a lot bigger than many states in Nigeria. And on top of my desk, I'm doing the calculations. I'm setting the relays. If there's a fault, immediately there is a fault in one region, something will take that small region off quickly and transfer their load elsewhere. And I've configured that on my table and I'm looking at those things. And every day I'm doing this mathematics, this very serious, complex mathematics to make sure that these things don't happen. And I saw, when I returned to Nigeria, I said, well, there are no such people here. I can tell you that authoritatively. There are no such people.
Okay.
To the number required to keep a system
okay,
stable.
Doctor, you have seen that this is our system. It does not work. Oh. I don't know when it will start working.
Let me tell
but
you.
You are still here. What is keeping you here?
Thank
Why
you.
have you not chosen the Japa route?
Thank you very much for that. Thank you for that. You know, there is no place like home. This expression, there is no place like home, is not Igbo language. It's not Yoruba, and it's not Hausa. It's not Ishekiri language. It's not Benin. The person who said no place like home spoke it in English a long time ago. It is a fact. For some people, they don't believe it. But guess what? When this reality hits you, you would believe that the white man who said originally, it was after he traveled. After the white man traveled in his voyages to various places in the world, and he did conquer. Then he uttered the expression, there is no place like home. There is no place. It is impossible for you to be normal and to forget that there's no place like home. That's one. Secondly, my parents told me that when I was 4 years, okay, it started like this. When I was born, people shouted, hey! So my mommy, they said they thought it was me because they gave birth to me at that moment. Unfortunately, it was up Nepa. So they were not surprised by age 4. I started talking about power system development. So from God knows where I was describing electric circuits. My parents were scared. They said, received double promotion twice within primary 1 to 6. I was already connecting wires. I was doing busier things you would think for a person of year 4. And for a 4-year-old to utter the statement that I will solve the problem of UPNEPA in Nigeria at 4 years old, that's a significant statement. So when I got to the secondary school, I started going towards electricity, physics, calculus, and then I went to the Polytechnic to study. My parents said they were watching, and I went to the degrees university to study power systems, and then the masters. So they became aware that this is not ordinary. This is why I'm still here. It is not an ordinary call.
Okay, looks like we have one more caller. Let's take that caller before we begin to wrap up. Hello. Good afternoon. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, good afternoon.
See, Dr. Moses, I'm very proud of you, and I'm so proud of you again. We'll still have to talk afterwards. I was the last guest of Dr. Abati 2 weeks ago. Yeah, on the same show you are sitting right now. And to hear my former teacher say all this, look, there's never going to be a place like home. I've had reasons to maybe even in quote Japa too, maybe to eat prayer like Dr. Abati. So I will do that. I hope we'll fix this life once and for all. When recommendations for bright minds like you, of course, like you, I was in the federal police, I was in the rest of the although in the battle connect when you taught me, start thinking now, let all this be brought together. It's embarrassing that we still don't have light. For that they discovered the electricity hundreds of years ago as the company then. How come we are still living as though we are in the 4th century? It is embarrassing. I have to carry all the phones I have to go almost to 3 local governments away to charge this morning. It's a metaphor of how sick we are. And this sickness does not take one rocket science solution. We can do all this if we will not put unnecessary politics in everything. I remember when Dr. Batin was still serving under Jonathan, Batinaki made some effort. If that had been followed, or even go further back, when Tinubu tried to do something in Lagos, if that had been followed, we don't have all this, but there is still a solution. Let all state governors, or at least at regional levels, come together and ensure that power is free. Without power, we go nowhere. Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Dr. Moses, for coming back again. But at this point, Dr. Yebanjo, I would just like you to summarize and make certain, definite statements in terms of how you see this crisis going away, if it would.
Meritocracy is the only thing that will give birth to a power system, a functional power system. The one that has stable electricity for a long time is meritocracy. You must first of all put square pegs in square holes. Okay, that's number one. That's the first thing. The second thing is the structure. The governance structure of the electricity system must follow meritocracy. So you must ask yourself, Do you want electricity? Put the professionals there. Anything short of those two to start with, you will not get it right. Talking about the structure, the ISO, the Independent System Operator, as you know, has been unbundled from the TCN just recently, and they are yet to be set up, but they are about to be set up, I can tell you. But in a situation whereby the Independent System Operator was inside Transmission Company of Nigeria, you are not going to get the real value that you want. And that Independent System Operator, now when you want to set it up, you must set it up with meritocracy. You see why this recording decimal will come up? Okay, so meritocracy, the Independent System Operator will be set up very soon. I am aware the board is already in place. They are trying to recruit the people that will start the company, and everything will go on smoothly. We thank them for that. Industrialization, produce electricity to all those people in Ikeja Industrial Estate, in area, in Enugu, in Onitsha, there are industrial
in Ogun State too.
Yes, in Agbara, Ogun State, in
electricity.
Everywhere you have any industrial park, industrial layout, go and give those people electricity and see the manufacturers, how Nigeria will change in terms of economic development. Again, power system planning and studies is the only way and reason we do any project. We don't say because my governor is from this place, or my minister is from this place, or my boss is from this place, so you go and put substation there. If you go and put substation in a place where there are no load, no real humans, no real factories, and you just go and be putting transformer there and substation there, you know what will happen? Grid collapse. That's one of the things causing the grid collapse. We call it Ferranti effect. So when I came back and looked at the Nigerian network, and I saw where people have done these political substations, I said their grid will be collapsing. That's why it's collapsing. Because in a lightly loaded network, we call Ferranti effect. Ferranti effect means that the voltage will rise and then kill the network because it's too much. Why? That place you put that substation is the wrong place, because there are only 10 people there. There are no industries there. There is no railway working there. There are no companies there. They are not having big markets there. There are no plenty people other than people who are just doing barbing and people who are just charging phone. Those are the people who live there. You now go and put plenty substation there. You cause what we call voltage rise and grid collapse. So imagine a country where that kind of attitude has caused the grid to be collapsing. Just imagine. It's because they didn't do what we will do first, power system planning, to know where are the people consuming the electricity. Go and put electricity there, and when we put investment, it must pay back. Okay, a country says it's not having finance, but it's putting expensive equipment of power system. Power systems equipment are very expensive. Transformer, substation. You now go and put it in place where they will not be able to pay back. And the people that can pay back, you didn't give them that electricity so that they can manufacture things. We have them now. Port Harcourt, we know the places all over Nigeria. Anywhere you have industrial estate or industrial layout, at least let them go and start there and give them. I designed it. I called it power for economic purpose. I designed it and said power for economic, and I submitted it to the highest level in this country, the highest level in power sector, and even not in the economic sector and everything. Let me tell you, anytime anybody utters the word, I want economic development, in your head, if the person is not thinking of electricity, the person is just saying that those mere words.
Well, on that note, that's all we have on today's show, City Talks with Ruben Abati. And thank you so much, Dr. Idu Oyebanjo, energy expert, for sharing your insights on the frequent collapse of Nigeria's national power grid, the causes, the impact, and the solutions. Now, this conversation has been eye-opening, and it's clear that both government action and community action must continue, and we must all continue to seek accountability from our elected and appointed government officials and insist on meritocracy, as our guest has been insisting upon in the last 1 hour. And to those of you who joined us, well, thank you very much indeed. Let's hope that there will be progress soon, because reliable power is essential to the growth and well-being of our nation. And thank you also everyone who called in and those who engage with us via social media platforms, Zoom, Facebook, WhatsApp. The conversation continues online. You can reach me personally on Instagram at Abati1990. You can also follow the station at City1051 on all social media platforms. And for those of you who tuned in late, you can watch the full show on the station's YouTube page, City1051. And when you do so, don't forget to subscribe and leave your comments. And don't forget also to join us next week at 12 noon for another exciting edition of City Talks. I'm Ruben Abati, and the show was produced by Kasmi Uzuruigbo, Damola Uludara, Oluwaseun Adetuntun, Festus was also part of the team, and Oluwatobiloba Samson and Abiodun Oduntun. The executive producer is Adedoja Allen. Have a great weekend, and thank you very much for joining us today. Bye for now.
Most of the contracts in NDDC are given out to members of National Assembly, but you don't know about it. It's okay.
When you need unbiased information, balanced analysis, reviews, and